Today on the Three Gorillas podcast, Mark, Joe, and Greg discuss the complexities of decoding the Epstein files. We're talking what happened beyond the island. This episode will be discussing child abuse, sex trafficking, money laundering, and government conspiracy. You have found the Three Gorillas podcast. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to the Three Gorilla podcast. My name is Greg Lawson. Some things kind of refresh your memory every once in a while, and the Epstein files has done that for me. Back in the mid-2000s, I was working as a child abuse detective, and I inherited a case from another detective so complex and so confusing that I had to take that case and put it aside and start the investigation all over again. At first, I thought it was just the way that particular detective did the case, but that was not true. This case led me down a trail that no one would believe. People would dismiss what I had to say. No one would take me seriously whenever I would discuss it. People sometimes simply don't want to hear, including law enforcement, the truth. They would rather live in a reality of deniability than face the facts that there are billionaires operating international sex organizations operating in your town, and there is nothing you can do about it. So that's what we're going to talk about on the Three Gorillas podcast today. I'd like to bring in Captain Retired Joe Escribano. Hey, Joe, what's going on, man?
We are here having a good time. I'm in the middle of, working on some fraud cases. I don't know, you saw in the news that there was a fraud case out of the Travis County Tax Office, and we went ahead and captured some people there. But the tax office of Travis County is just diligently working, and they were the ones that, of course, we did contact with them in 24. Been working ever since, and they really, really work very, very hard and detect stuff, and they did on this one. It turned out pretty good.
That's awesome, man. Let's bring Mark in here. Hey, Mark, how are you doing,
Hello.
buddy?
What's going on?
Oh, we're just living the dream, as they say in the PTSD world. Hey. So what have you been doing, man? I haven't heard anything from you in a couple of weeks. What's going on?
Yeah, working my butt off. It's been nonstop since August, actually. So I just cleared up a case here this week, and got a couple more that are right on the horizon. So
essentially what you're saying is if you told us you'd have to kill us, or...
Well, this is the way I look at it, Greg. All I am in these cases is a witness. So they're not, I'll use my air quotes, they're not my cases. So they're really not my cases to discuss,
okay.
So really, I just try to avoid it. It's just another 30 minutes that I avoid on the stand,
right.
As I'm getting grilled because of it. But notwithstanding, they're not my cases. So I am just simply a witness or a consultant. But I'll be glad to lead you to the attorneys that they do hold them out as their cases. But yeah, all I am is just a witness. And I sometimes say I'm a glorified witness, but I'm absolutely not that. I am just simply a witness.
That would be interesting sometime, maybe if any of those guys would agree to come on to the Three Gorillas podcast.
I can guarantee you they would.
I would love to sit back and just listen to you guys.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I can guarantee you there's very few attorneys that I work for that would not do this, especially given the fact that we're not like in a studio where they would have to come to a studio and take time out of their day. They just sit at their office and just talk into their phone or into their laptop. So that makes it really convenient. And it also gives them an opportunity to say what services that they render and or what they can do for someone out there that may be in their need. So yeah, well, we could discuss it, but I can guarantee you, I don't know if anybody that wouldn't do it.
That's cool. Well, we've talked about doing different types of podcasts and stuff like that, and I've been contacted by a lot of people. Last month we had a little over 1,000 downloads, which is not bad. I mean, it's nothing compared to most podcasts, but that's not a bad run for what we're doing, considering we don't do really any advertising or anything like that. But
Yeah.
some of these folks have contacted me on show suggestions. Some of them have contacted me, hey, I want to come on and tell this story or whatever. And I know that there's a lot of, or some of the people are commenting that they want more episodes. And I know we've talked about different episodes that we're going to do, and we have a list of stuff that we're going to do, but we're going to kind of jump off script today because this Epstein stuff is really just boiling right now in the news, and I wanted to cover it, but I also wanted to address that the podcast that you're listening to right now, called the Three Gorillas Podcast with Greg Lawson, Mark Sawa, and Joe Escribano, has been banned and suspended off of YouTube already. And it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to get YouTube to get us back on. And, YouTube, it's amazing. In today's world, you would think that we would have great customer service, but companies realize that it's more effort to try to retain a customer than it is just to get a new customer. So they just blow you off, don't say anything or whatever. And YouTube's no different. It's, all you get is the generic message. This channel was removed because it violated our community guidelines, whatever that is. It's the 42-page thing that you sign when you put it on there. And I have a feel, I looked at some of our episodes. Yeah, I looked at some of our episodes, and
what did we violate?
Yeah,
it must have been when you were in that thong, Joe. Must have been when you did the episode you did in the thong.
When we started talking about diving and thongs, is that what it was? That was what it was. That's probably what it did.
I looked back through, and there's some of the stuff that would have done it, and it would have been the M word for somebody losing their life and having somebody else take their life. The M word. The R word for sexual violence, and they may have banned us because we said that. The crazy part is if you go into court, you use these words because these words are in a thing called a dictionary, and a dictionary was made by people that invented or interpreted English language, and adults use these words specifically. That M word does not mean to unalive somebody. There's a specific definition for that M word. There's a specific definition for homicide. There's a specific definition for dying or death. And it's just absolutely, they've turned us into a bunch of, 10-year-olds to where we can't use language the way it was designed. So that's what I'm thinking. And by the way, I interviewed Brian Woolery on a case that he worked. Brian Woolery is a former sergeant for the Travis County SWAT team and instructor.
Great guy.
Sergeant at the Travis County Academy. Just a great trainer, great motivator. I have nothing bad to say about this guy in public. But I did an interview with him, and we recorded an interview. It was probably an hour and 15 minutes long, and I couldn't use 2 minutes of that interview because I would have been, what is that, the common thing? The channel was removed because of violating our community guidelines.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because of course,
that's incredible.
His dynamic way of speaking, and also the content that we were talking about is just off the chain. Right. So that's kind of where this episode is going to go. I'm thinking about taking the episode. I tell you what, those of you who are listening to this podcast, you send me an email. If you want to see Brian Woolery's interview, what I can do is I can go through it and edit it and just speed his part up so you can't even understand what he's saying. And we'll just do that. That way you can watch the episode in like 7.5 minutes. So this episode is going to cause us some issues, I think, probably with our community standards of YouTube. But we've been talking about different subjects lately. We've been talking about training. We've been talking about cold cases, stuff like that. But
you just use the M word.
The Epstein files are very timely. And Joe, I know you have a unique perspective on this, as well as Mark's interpretation on what we're talking about. I also want to say just really quick, conspiracy means you're linking too many things together. That's what conspiracy means. But I'm also going to throw in there, in a major crimes investigation, you notice I didn't use the M word. Yeah, there is no such thing as a coincidence. And so when things start popping up, if you're looking at an investigation and things are just randomly popping up right in your face, that's not conspiracy. That's you're following the evidence trail. And I'm talking about, you look at the old conspiracy theories of the Tuskegee syphilis study, MK Ultra, of the mind control experiments that the government was doing, Operation Northwoods of falsifying terrorist activity here in the United States to justify invading Cuba, CIA, the Contra crack cocaine thing, the Kennedy assassination. We all know these now are not conspiracies. They're just very in-depth investigations into multiple organizations, multiple people, and government influence in these particular cases. So, as I say that, I drop Jeffrey Epstein died on August 10th, 2019, while in federal custody, Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. He was found hanged by himself, being charged with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. He had a makeshift noose with a bed sheet around his neck tied to the top of his bunk bed. And the two correctional officers that were supposed to be doing 30-minute rounds hadn't been around in a couple of hours, and come to find out they had been sleeping and, looking on the internet, and also falsifying their prison logs of making their rounds. The security cameras outside of his cell, miraculously malfunctioned. The ME for New York City ruled it as a suicide, and the hyoid bone in his neck was broken. Family members of Epstein hire another forensic pathologist to come in, and he finds 3 of the bones in his neck broken, suggesting strangulation. Now, I don't know how much pressure you got to put on a bed sheet to break your own hyoid bone, but you got to be pretty motivated to do that, especially when there weren't no overt suicidal indicators on this guy at all. Then fast forward release of the Epstein files in 2026, 3 million documents, 2,000 plus videos, 180,000 images. And we are here, Joe, man. What am I talking about here, Joe?
Well, it's, all three of you, or both of you, you guys have done extensive investigative work, from child abuse to homicides. Mark, you and I won't mention the other guy, but we know he likes, he likes, the feet, but we won't mention his name. But the experience here is really, really, we have, a lot of experience. And I'm not going to criticize the investigation thus far, not at this point, but I am going to point out some things. One, if this guy is like the guy, think about it. He was the guy. And they went ahead and just, everything that now, the millions of files, this guy was hot. He was a hot witness. He was a hot community. And I'm gonna make the example. And Mark and I traveled, believe it or not, to Dallas, and we were in Dealey Plaza, and we went up there and saw all the Kennedy stuff. And it was really eye-opening to make the scene, because Mark always taught me, and I learned this from him. You want to be boots on the ground, any scene, and you want to walk it. You want to know what you're looking at. So that said, you understand that all of a sudden, one of the biggest public executions of a president of the United States, and they have my air quotes, like Mark says, the guy. And next thing you know, they allow somebody to go into that carport and smoke them. I mean, let's stop right there for a second. Let's fast forward now to our situation with Epstein. And now you look at this and he's what? This is the guy that has probably dirt on everybody in the entire civilized world. And all of a sudden, you know, you're not, I mean, you don't have him in some kind of protective custody that you are literally somebody sitting in that room with him, watching him 24/7, because you don't want this guy to go away. But yet, nothing. It's like, oh, he committed suicide. Oh, well, then now we have a really conspiracy because, you know, the one medical examiner says one thing, the other one says the other. And now we have all this. Now, let's fast forward. They throw all this stuff out there. And by the way, I don't know if you read yesterday, a certain official from Gran Bretagne, Britain, they took him in. The prince. Now, and then in Scandinavia, if I'm not wrong, one of these other countries, they took another person related to this, but yet we're sitting here, okay, we're driving the ball down the field and we got 0 points up, not even a field goal. Now, this, as a former, you know, and still in law enforcement, I'm still investigating stuff. I look at this, I'm going like, this just seems very, very odd. You know what I mean? That you don't have anything. I mean, literally, there's nothing on the scoreboard whatsoever, and you have all these files out there, everything that you can possibly think of, and still here we are, nothing at all. So, you know, that's where I'm going to start my conversation, because this doesn't add up. As an investigator, it doesn't add up. You have photographs, you have videos, you have logs, you have all this stuff. And you know, Mark, that we have put people through the test that have gone through our legal system with nothing more than circumstantial evidence. What I've seen, man, this is a tough one. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that you kind of went to a couple different components of this case. Let's talk about the suicide case first, the suicide aspect first. You know, I don't know much about this, so I don't know much about it at all, actually. But this is what I can comment on: is it when after 9/11, and they talk and the conspiracy theories about how there's no way that the North Tower and South Tower could have imploded like they did, and then the other buildings that had dropped, there's no way that they should have dropped, and that this was just one big giant conspiracy theory, and that there was munitions or explosives tied to all of those buildings, and this was just one big giant plan to knock those buildings down, and everything was already set into place before the actual assault occurred. And then when you take that, and then those that debunked that for whatever reason that they felt necessary to, because it certainly wasn't needed, because those claims are as outrageous and as ridiculous as they could possibly be. But still, there was those that put forth the effort, said that it would take this volume of people, and it was like 2,700 people to be involved in that would have made that thing go, and which is, I mean, if you had 3 people involved in it, you couldn't have.
Somebody's gonna take the money. There's going to be money offered. They're going to go, okay, I'll take $1 million. I'll tell everything.
Somewhere down the line. Yep. And that's the way I look at this suicide. Is it because I worked in a maximum security prison? I know what it takes to get into a prison. I know what it takes. And this was in 1982 to 1986. So there wasn't the same technological things happening in prisons now, where every inch of that prison is covered by a video camera. But just to show you, in the prison that I worked at, when you came through the gate, you had to bring all your credentials, all your identification, and then they took fingerprints of you. They took thumbprints of you. They put a band around your wrist that could not be undone by only one tool could do it. And then when you left the prison, they took the band. This is for visitors. And I was coming in, working overtime one day. I was coming in late. I'm actually coming in early because I worked the afternoon shift. I was coming in early about 11 o'clock, and the governor of Pennsylvania was coming into that prison for a meeting. The governor of Pennsylvania walked to that security gate, took everything out of his pockets, gave his thumbprints. They put a band around his wrist, and then he walked into prison, just like every single person that ever walked into that prison, the most lowly visitor, criminal visitor, visiting their criminal husband, brother, whatever. The exact same procedures went through that. So I know what it takes to get from the front door to that cell and then back out the front door. And it didn't happen.
Right.
Nobody killed that guy.
Well,
it did not happen.
And that's the thing is I guess the argument would be maybe the two officers that were on post, they had paid them somehow to go do that. And that would lend you to the conspiracy theory of me connecting the dots. Oh, the cameras worked every day except for those 3 hours.
Yeah, well, you know what, Greg? I agree with Mark. I don't really, honestly, my angle, the way I was looking at this, I don't really believe that, somebody went ahead, and you're right, Mark, that would take a lot. But the other thing that I'm looking at is if this guy was that important, I don't think I would just leave it to whatever guard you got.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
I would have had somebody on him 24/7. I would have if you're going to prosecute that case, and I know the feds have a lot of resources, you're going to tell me that they couldn't have arrested him and moved him somewhere where they can observe him 24/7, was literally a physical body there watching him. Right. As important as this is, it's just, it makes no sense to me. And you know what? He could have just killed himself. I get that. I understand that. I you know what? No problem. I have no problem with that. And what you said, Mark, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense too. But, it's just kind of odd to me. That just really strikes me odd.
Well, I'm going to take you back to 1990s, early 2000s, and a couple of months ago. Individuals working in local jails accepting money and bringing cell phones, bringing drugs, and bringing Chick-fil-A into the jail.
They're gonna love you for this. But go ahead.
Into the jail for an inmate.
Yep.
And that's just
that's El Chapo. That's El Chapo stuff, man. They were bringing him caviar. It was pretty good.
If you have a corrections officer that makes $60,000 a year, $70,000 a year, and you know that he works maximum security, I don't know how you would know this, but I'm sure you could figure it out within a few hours just hanging out at the jail. And you realize, okay, he's working on the same unit that's where your guy is. And you run into him out on the street someplace, however you do that, and you offer him a certain amount of money. How much money would you need to offer him to go in there and shut the cameras off and do something to this guy? Now you're going to need more than one guy. Epstein was not, Epstein would have put up with a fight.
Yeah, he would have.
There was
a big guy too, and he's in shape too.
And there's no evidence that he was in a struggle with anybody.
None.
According to both pathologists, there wasn't any drugs in his system that would affect him to where he would pass out, and you could just tie a sheet around his neck, break his neck, and hang him from there. So you look at the physical evidence. There's a lot of coincidences popping up all over the place. A lot of incompetence, in my opinion. Joe, Mark, both of you guys, Think about the high profile people we arrested at, for Travis County Sheriff's Office, and we would need to go pick them up. And now we have people in transportation that we will pick them up. But if they were very high level individuals, who they sent the SWAT team over to get them. We would go over there, and we wouldn't go at the time we said we were going to go. We wouldn't show up in the cars that we said that we were going to show up in. We wouldn't go to the door that we told them that we were going to go get him from. We would go get him. We would hide him, and we would mask all the way to the jail, transport him, and we would drive right by all the reporters and all that stuff and sneak him through the maintenance area and get him in the jail. Happened all the time. We didn't do perp walks. You know, that's the thing that some political people and some big city chief of police and stuff, you know, they're going to do the perp walk. Hey, let's figure it out and get the you know, all the media over here, and we'll walk out and, you know, that's me carrying this guy out. We caught him. You know, that kind of. We didn't do that stuff.
Never.
We took care of business. And that's the thing that kind of freaks me out about a lot of the political arrests that are being made now. So these perp walks that they're doing, and it's just complete theater. And some people really love it.
And you know, you can say theater, but again, you have to put this into perspective. Mark already gave you the perspective that in his, you know, what he's viewed, find it very, very odd. The odds would be against you having that many people involved, and all of a sudden, boom,
I agree.
It's done.
Yeah.
However, that said, you have to understand that somebody dropped the ball. Well, we know who dropped the ball, because you should have been protecting this guy like he was the, you know, he was the golden grail or the holy grail. He was the holy grail of, you know, pedophilia, and you want to make sure that you're going to be able to find out what happened to him. So I'm always drawing that same thing, you know. If he killed himself, oh, okay, well, you know, I'm not going to go. I can't say one way or the other because I don't have enough information on that. You brought out the different, you know, autopsies, so forth and so on, and we can sit here until the cows come home. But the bottom line, you have to look beyond that. You have to look to the basics. First of all, who benefited from his death or him killing himself? I mean, because he just doesn't want to testify because he knows what's coming if he does. Because he compromised a lot of people. Then you look at all this information coming out, and up to now, zero arrests other than what they have done in other countries. Or the president of the United States, again, saying that, hey, we need to move on from this.
Yeah, that was something really surprising to me when.
Yeah, with all this evidence, the thing about this is you have, okay, regardless if you believe it or not, whether he killed himself or not, who cares, all that. You have all this information out there, all these videos that people are seeing, and they're outraged, the cannibalism, all this other stuff, and you're gonna say, let's move on. You know, that's political suicide. I mean,
could you imagine if this would have surfaced 15, 20 years ago, Alex Jones getting a hold of this? He rode Bohemian Grove into the ground, and it's like, this is nothing, or Bohemian Grove's nothing compared to what they're suggesting is happening with the Epstein files and all of those emails, because everybody's grabbing that stuff, copy and pasting it and putting it into large language models and Chat GPT. What is this? Research this to find what this is.
But let's be fair. First of all, in order in the United States of America, as we see it today, you have to have, okay, everybody's innocent until you prove them. I mean, that you can have all these emails, all these, but until you bring your evidence in front and said, this man did this, and you have the proof. And the other thing that surprised me was shocking, that they had a witness, I'm not going to say her name, came forth, and she said, we reported this and nobody ever came to talk to me. I'm a victim and nobody from any agency came to talk to me. And I'm just going like, whoa.
So one of the things about the emails that's interesting that most people don't understand, is they feel like they go in and get metadata, which metadata is data about data. So that whatever the data you're going to get the information, then you're going to find out the location, the time, what kind of server it's on, where it came from, and everything else. The one thing that you cannot get is who was typing the keys. So you want to throw conspiracy theory in. Oh, yeah, it says it came from my email address, but somebody must have gotten onto my keyboard and done that.
Sure. I mean, we see that all the time. But look at Ferguson. Look at Ferguson, Missouri. Okay, and I studied that case, and I went ahead and read the Department of Justice report. They literally canvassed that whole area. That report is awesome. If you ever get a chance to read it. I got turned on. Mark turned me on to that report. Because they canvassed that whole thing. They even went so far as 2 or 3 blocks down the road, this guy was recording a rap video and he caught the gunshots in his stuff. That's how far they went all over the place to get this stuff. And here we have this, the crime of, I mean, this is the debauchery of the century.
It is. It truly is.
And I'm just going like, I'm not. How about some movement? All I'm asking, fake it. Like when we go to a crime scene, right? We know we're not going to get any prints, but what we do, we throw powder everywhere. Do something, Mark. I mean, it's just like, do something. And
so Mark, we're talking about an enterprise getting this done, and you were saying, as far as it would take, let's say, over 2,000 people to keep quiet in a conspiracy theory like the Twin Towers. This apparently is truly a global criminal enterprise, and it's not one guy acting alone. This is a guy that, whether he sought out kids or young women sought him out, or very rich people sought him out, or he sought out very rich people and tempted them with this. And then once he got them, he went, oh, okay, now that I have you on this, I got this video, I got these photographs, I want to manage your portfolio. Maybe that's how he was getting all of his, his financial clients were doing that sort of thing. So Mark, a global enterprise like that, is that what you're seeing as far as what you're hearing on the news? And that's what we're dealing with? Yeah.
And also, I mean, just the mere fact this guy purchased this island specifically for these types of events. I mean, that's exactly what what his whole world was about. Now, the other aspects of him bringing in people and then, recording them or for like a future blackmail or for favors and things along those lines. I'm assuming that's exactly was part of his plan. I'm sure he did favors to those like him to bring them on so they could abuse these children on that island, that they were all part of this, kind of same mindset, but also bringing these other folks in that he could use as pawns for whatever future endeavor that he would contrive. But one of the things that I don't know, and again, I'm far from someone that would consider themselves well versed in this entire realm of investigation, but one of the things that I find confusing to me is that there's a lot of victims in this case, and then now they're grown women. For the most part, most of them are, from what I see, those that have been at the Capitol and have been at different events that kind of stand together shoulder to shoulder. They look like women in their late 30s, early 40s, actually. So the whole Epstein thing collapsed in 2015. That was 11 years ago. So if somebody was in their teens then, say 18, now they're 29. So. And then long before, I mean, this whole Epstein Island thing was going on for a decade or so before that. So certainly it would place girls who were 13 and 14, whatever age range that these girls were involved. Now they're grown women. So consider that and hold that out there. And then consider the Larry, what was his name? The doctor, the Olympic doctor that molested all those girls. What was his name? Larry was his first name.
Yeah, I forgot, but I know who you're talking about. He molested the Olympic gymnastics team.
So all of those girls collectively came together outside of the shroud of confidentiality that is afforded all of those victims, came together and they, stood shoulder to shoulder with all their empowerment and gave testimony against him, and put him away for the next, 20,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing I haven't seen, and again, not well-versed, not knowing, I haven't seen those now women. These aren't girls anymore. These aren't young girls. These are grown women. I haven't seen them come out and saying, when I was 14, this guy did this. The only ones I've heard of is Prince Andrew, who you see him with his arm around that young girl, and I think she's 16 in that photo or 17 in that photo, and she's laying on the ground, or another girl's laying on the ground, and they blur out her face, where girls have specifically identified him. And one girl that I saw an interview with that was part of the whole Epstein Island thing, that was accompanied by Bill Clinton into the town or into the area that they went to get supplies and to entertain themselves and stuff. She went with Bill Clinton to that location. He bought her a bracelet or something. And then under ferocious cross-examination, where this reporter or this interviewer or this interrogator tried to do everything he could to get this girl to say something raunchy about Bill Clinton, and she would not do that. Every single thing she said, he was a gentleman. He treated me. It was like a father-daughter type contact for this very brief period of time where she went into town, had lunch with him, and he bought her like some trinket, and then they went back to the Epstein Island. And that was two people that I know of that were specifically identified in this whole.
So I talked to my wife, Lynn, about this, and she said she's really up on this case. She's paying a lot of attention. And she was talking about, well, a lot of the women that were involved may still be involved in this, may still be trafficked, or may also still be receiving money for their silence, and they continue doing that. Now, Lynn had me go to a podcast called Serialistly. It's like serial killer serialistly. It's a true crime podcast. And their latest podcast, they had forensic psychologist Dr. Leslie Dobson. She's written books, and she has covered a lot of stuff. She's actually the forensic psychologist that is working with Congress. Now, when has sex trafficking had people actively working with Congress? This is a big deal. It's not as people are. It's odd that nobody is being arrested, but it is a big deal, and something is going to happen. But anyway, this Dr. Dobson was talking about something that, Joe, you suggested just a few minutes ago, which is the cannibalism side of it. Apparently, a lot of these emails and stuff that have come out, it's turned really super dark. And she talks about working with sadists and working with psychopaths. And then she adds in elites as well. It's interesting on how
what in
elite people, very rich people. And I've always said, in order to be a effective politician, oftentimes you have to be a sociopath. You have to get the office by any means necessary, and then maybe once you get there, you'll be a decent person and do the right thing. But you still really have to do some things that you don't want to do. But she brings up, Dr. Dobson brings up, sadist or somebody who's sadistic that just wants to see fear and pain in people. So they're going to watch them and experience that. The psychopath is going to be all kinds of different reasons why they would want to eat somebody. The whole thing of being a part of that person or forever having a friend. You eat them and it's like, oh, he's with me all the time. And then she brings in the elites dining on human beings, because this is something that has gone through history. We have that way back when. We have it all through American history, albeit criminal type cannibalism or survival type cannibalism. But all this stuff is being gleaned out of these emails that have these code words for children. They brought up in Seriously podcast the pizza thing that they were talking about years ago about ordering pizza, and the smaller the pizza, the younger the child, right? So they'd say, yeah, I'm ordering a small pizza, whatever that is. And that was this conspiracy thing. But now they're bringing in these emails of these code words, extended emails on breast milk and suckling babies. And Epstein wanted to create the perfect human being. I don't know whether he wanted to create the perfect offspring or the perfect human being that you could actually harvest as a sacrificial source or a food source. And they're openly listing, I didn't say this, they are openly listing Bill Gates on a lot of this stuff. And it just makes you wonder, because these, just because somebody mentions a person's name doesn't mean that they were actually committing a crime, right? Yet, the more it pops up, the more involvement they have, the more you kind of wonder, and you sit back and go, wow, what's going on here? Joe, you mentioned that cannibalism stuff. Did you hear anything any more than what I heard?
I just heard that. Trust me, I'm not an anti-Trump anything. I'm not anti-anything, but he said that we need to move on. I don't think anybody
several times.
Yeah, and he said that several times, and that one caught me really, really. I mean, I'm going like, at least it deserves somebody to go in there and do an investigation. Hey, if it turns out that all that was said, yeah, it was, or this person can actually testify to the facts that, hey, this person did this, then let's move on it. But just because you went to the island, even though that's bad, because if I go to a crack house and I know it's a crack house and we attend the crack house, but I was just there to get me a beer. Oh, yeah, sure you were, Joe. I'm sure you were going to go get a beer. Nah. Or I went to the Peep Show to do some research. No. After, if you associated yourself with him after his indictment, after his original DOJ investigation, where he had 60 charges put on him, I believe it was in Florida, and worked a sweet deal out of all that stuff. How you could have 60 federal charges and not go to prison for the rest of your life is pretty amazing. It was amazing. It was a good attorney.
It was concerning to me on one of the little news stations that had Trump on there, and he said, "What is this with this Epstein guy? Are they still talking about him?" Man, my eyes got this big, because I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I used to have a captain called Joe Escorbano and a major called Mark Sawa. And somewhere along the lines, those guys sent me to a school called the Reed Technique and forensic examination. And you look at gratification. You look at gratification. Yeah, you could be in 5th grade and realize, wow, that was a code of deception right there.
Yeah.
That was wow. Did Trump really see that?
It would be just like, hey, are you guys still talking about Waco? We need to move on. And I'm going like, I was there. Are you nuts?
I think some people believe that they're so smart that they can pull a Jedi mind trick like Obi-Wan Kenobi. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
No, that's true.
Oh, these aren't the droids I'm looking for.
Great. Hey,
Boys
great
and girls.
analogy.
Yeah. I have this one. Boys and girls are the same thing. If we can agree on all of that, we can agree on every crazy thing that you could come up with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm having a hard time with this one. If it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, I'm telling you it is a duck, and we know it is a duck. There's no question about it. So again, I think it just deserves the government, the people that are they entrust you, Mark, me, Joe, you, Greg. When we were out there doing what we're doing, they entrust us. You're going to do an honest investigation. At the end of the day, when you finish that investigation, I let the cards fall where they may. And if there's exculpatory stuff, although other people don't, I do. If there's this, I present it all. Here it is. Everything is there. Let the cards fall where they may. I'm not going to hide anything. You start hiding stuff, Brady, blah, blah, blah. And they expect that. And here, I just don't see that. I'm just, maybe I missed something. And I keep on looking for this stuff like that, and I just don't see it. And this is the troubling part for me.
I understand that people want this to happen next week. I want, so you need to, and if you're looking at financial records, just at the base level of a county government, you do a financial investigation. It could last.
I'm doing one right now, and it's just like mind numbing on the stuff that you get. Completely mind numbing. But I understand that investigations take time. Okay, but at least come out there and says, you know what, we are looking at it. Don't say anything else. Hey, sorry guys, I don't have all the cards. All this has been put out, but we're still looking at it.
And Mark,
once you put all these files out and you've done nothing,
right? Yeah, Mark. I mean, if you look at this broad picture like this, it's going to take you forever. I think it would be the best thing to do is just, okay, we're going to investigate this person, and we're going to run down. And as soon as you have probable cause, you write your affidavit, you send it in, you get it signed, you get a warrant, you get the guy in jail, and you move on to the next one. Now, you want to write that affidavit one time and put a list of 1,500 people on it. That would be the ideal thing. And maybe that's what the DOJ and the feds are looking at, because y'all have worked with the FBI and DEA and everybody else before. They could go a year, 2 years on an investigation, 3 years on an investigation. My question is, it was odd that Epstein 2020 happens and he goes away for 4 years, just disappears, nothing happens. And 2024 pops up. Epstein.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
That's interesting, the way that happened. I wonder what was going on over the DOJ during that.
Yeah, and I mean, because there was no additional file. Those files have been there since 2015.
Yeah.
So there was nothing additional to. So it was like they laid in limbo, and when all the fingers get pointed to whoever, if it's Trump or whatever. They had 4 years to go through every one of those, every word in every one of those files.
Or release it all. They're demanding on all this open, release it all. They never demanded it for 4 years, but all of a sudden.
And then you look at the director of the FBI now. Again, great guy, but he was all fire and brimstone, and it seems like that kind of fizzled out. And then they get Dan Bongino, great guy. And he fizzles out, and it's just like
well, he threw in the towel, is what he did. I think he got over there and realized
he bit more than he could chew off. I mean, I don't know, but again, the bottom line is he seemed, and then the big pass, Hail Mary pass is coming. Allegedly, I saw on the news that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were going to come and talk to somebody and testify. They missed their first subpoena, but now they're going to talk about
hopefully everybody believes them this time.
That's brutal. But again, I just want the truth. You can't handle the truth. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. it's good. I mean, it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. But again, at the end of the day, we're going to look at this and go like, okay, it's there. The evidence there. Have they really, really looked at it as an investigation that you should have done? Have you left all stones unturned? Have you interviewed people? That's what I expect. I think the American people are expecting that, and that just didn't happen. So it kind of leaves you with there's a void here. That's all I'm saying.
When you're looking at the laws, just simplistically, you look at the laws that this guy was supposed to have broken. He couldn't have done it by himself. We're talking sex trafficking. We're talking Mann Act violations of taking underage individuals across state and federal lines. We're talking about international Megan's Law. He was traveling all over the place, even though he was a registered sex offender, and he never reported to anybody. And the UN, as dysfunctional and as useless as that organization has become, and it has. I served under the UN in 1985, and it was pretty dysfunctional then. But now they're popping up with the Epstein thing, saying that it's crimes against humanity. For the UN to step in and say it's crimes against humanity, do you realize how many people have to be involved for the UN to go, oh, it's crimes against humanity? Of course, this could be just a random,
But you see the actor, that did that movie about the human trafficking, that did Jesus Christ. He played Jesus. I forgot what his name is. Great movie, by the way. But human trafficking, we know it's very, very tragic. APD, the Austin Police Department, had a unit. I remember they came and gave us a class 5-10 years ago, whatever. And they showed us all the stuff and everything else. And it's mind numbing. It's really, really tough to even be there doing that. So, and it's everywhere. Like you said, it is. And, at first I thought, when I first got into it, I was just like, yeah, it happens. But, white slavery, this, that, and the other. And I can't, once you get into it, start looking at it, you realize it's all around you. And you're going like, holy crap. Where have I been?
Yeah. The case that I was talking about earlier that I worked was literally international Russian, probably mafia type folks that own multiple houses here in Austin. They rotate each other in and out. They use the same birth certificates, the same passports and everything for a character. So they pay the money, they assume this character, and they get to come to Austin and live in these houses and participate in these sex orgies and all the rest of the stuff involving kids. And it is so in depth, and there's so much money in it that there is not a single thing a local, city cop, county deputy sheriff, or state trooper is going to do about this. Nothing.
Well, like I said before, in closing, if we're going to close, it's just like that's just devastating. And I know every cop that I know of, the ones that I've worked with, you guys, everybody else, this is something that I know it's unacceptable to me. Normal people, how you twist yourself off to be that kind of a sickie, which we have seen sickies in our careers. We have seen some horrific things, and I know I have, and I know you guys have. It's just horrifying. It's just horrifying. And then I'm going like, when good people stop taking action, okay, and they just stand by and let it happen. Hey, they came for the Protestants, but I wasn't Protestant, so I didn't do anything. They came for the Baptists. I didn't do anything because I was Catholic. And then they finally came for me. Unacceptable.
Mark, you got any fine words of wisdom that you can take this dark subject and get us out of here?
One thing, like I said, and I remember that doctor's name now. His name's Larry Nassar. And the one thing that really kicked that case in the butt was the fact that those victims all bound together and said, we're going to create so much havoc, you cannot possibly ignore us. And that's what really started the ball rolling in that case. And I think this is the same thing here. I think it's going to take that and them aligning themselves with people with juice, within the not only this country but also the world as well, who stand shoulder to shoulder with them and have their back as they move through to where because it's a shell game. What happens is it they like somebody's got a buddy who's part of this Jeffrey Epstein network, and that buddy says to this politician, hey, get with your buddy politicians and tell them to push this around on their desk, put these pack of papers around on their desk. And that's what the FBI agents do. And that's what this investigative entity does. And this what this investigative entity does, all under the shroud of, hey, we're still working on this case, because they are in fact working on that case. But there's nothing getting done. They're just going around in circles or chasing their tail, as it were. And really what it's going to take is that level of power backing those victims that says this is what's going to get done. And because that's what happened in that Larry Nassar case, because the Olympic Committee pushed that around and tried to play that off. They're going to dump Larry Nassar, but all because if they charged him, it was going to cast a dark shadow on the entire process.
Right.
So they had to cover that up. It wasn't about, hey, we're going to protect this child molester, just like it's not about we're going to protect Jeffrey Epstein or these other child molesters. It's we're protecting the reputation that these people bring, basically that. So, and I'm always reminded of that movie JFK, one of my absolute favorite movies, is when Mr. Garrison was walking up the steps. He turns around and says, "Let justice prevail, though the heavens may fall." And that is one of the greatest sayings of all. No matter what happens, let justice prevail. And if the heavens fall, then so be it as a result of that. And
immortal words, Mark. Immortal
that's
words.
what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take in this case.
But for the president of the United States, Mark, to say, for the president of the United States, say, let's move on, that the heavens are going to be moving. And I guarantee you, I believe, and I really, really do believe this, that those people are going to come forward, Mark, and they're not letting it die. This is not dying. They are going to, regardless, I think it's going to be what you just said, and they're going to bring it forward. Those victims need to get together, like you just said, and it will happen. I really, really believe that they're not going to let this go.
Well, I
regardless.
Well, fellas, I can't thank you enough for letting me pontificate and bounce ideas off of you, and you guys correct me on them.
On what?
I really enjoy.
That's like hagfish, huh, Mark? Like hagfish?
No, it's hecklefish is what it is.
No, hagfish. No, look it up.
Oh, you look up hecklefish, and then
okay,
then
I will. I will.
But it's a real joy spending time with you guys, and one of these days I'll buy you a beer someplace. Until that time,
coffee for me.
Thank you so much.
I'll take a milkshake.
Take care, guys.
We're out. The Three Gorillas Podcast is a zombie advocacy production.